now a good afternoon from sunny Portugal as you join us in the back half of round number 2. This is the elimination round. Kingston Lears alongside Peter Mel. Peter, watching those conditions, watching how the girls are approaching it heat by heat, strategy by strategy, what are you seeing for the afternoon?
Wow, big question. You know, I think it's going to change. I mean, now we're going to start to see the tide.
A level playing field here to conditions before it really starts going with that hard outgoing tide. In the meantime, Lakey Peterson, here we go, up and riding, world number 5 on the Jeep leaderboard, and she'll get smart wave selection through to the inside. Yeah, good rhythm and a working wave here to get going. This is what we call a foundational score. Doesn't want to see herself being left out and then suddenly fighting the clock in the back half of this heat. So getting a score up on the cards quickly there, Peter, and that's smart strategy in these conditions.
Well, applying that early pressure, and you know, she paddled for that wave. It already had broken, you know, and seeing that it had that opportunity through the inside, so she went for it. And there was one nice turn in this section. You can see she paddles into it, sees the little double up section, waits for it, steepens up, slashes it. That was that nice turn here. The wave fattens up right when she got to the top of the lip, so she kind of had to adjust to it, and then there shuts down. But nice work to be able to transition between those moves and keep top to bottom style of surfing. Judges will like that, and it is a good start. Early pressure applied here by Lakey.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter, you're mentioning there the transitions between turns.
Makes kind of developing confidence there.
Yeah, well, I like this wide shot here. This will give our audience an overview of how difficult the conditions are now on the high tide. But here we go. Peterson making sense of it to pick up another wave, and that's a great hit right there. And as we say that, we'll jinx her for the fall on wave number 2. But Peter, that 7-point ride to start is a good number.
Just looking for that next section to be able to capitalize on that second move. Let's take a closer look here. She drops into this one. You talk about difficult wave to surf. Look at all those ribs and bumps, but she times this section just right when it gets nice and steep, and she attacks it. Looks like there's some water got in her eyes, and then just unweights, gets too forward on the board and goes down. You know, ultimately what happens is once you clear your eyes, you want to see where that next section is as early as possible.
Angle the judges will be looking at square on, Peter.
Yeah, they're kind of right in the middle of the beach. They're able to look at this kind of straight on. They're going to surf right into it. So we finally now get to see Pauline take her first wave.
All right, our French lady unlocks a great snapping wrap turn there. Smaller inside wave. It's got a lot of bump and buckle on it. It's the leftovers of that big swell. But nonetheless, Ado will work through to the inside, and she'll lay down an opening score now. With she's used up an entire 12 minutes of the clock thus far for that opening score. But we'll now look to see what the panel drop as a number, because if she wants to get involved in this man-on-man, well, woman-on-woman heat, she'll need to start coming into some decent numbers.
Yeah, and you know, I was going to kind of analyze the middle of this beach. We don't have the luxury of a rip. You know, generally you get a nice deep spot that will allow water to flush out, but at this portion of the beach, it doesn't have that, so you're always just fighting the wave. You're not going to be able to use that conveyor belt of the ocean leaving the water and going out to the outside, getting a ton of headway. And then once they get around the corner, I mean, if you were to go to the south end of the beach, you could easily get out with the rip, but not here.
All right, so now picking up an exchange between Ado in blue, now Peterson in red, as Lakey looks to ditch a low-scoring 1.23 achieved earlier on in her wave number 2. We've just seen wave number 3 play out. Peter, you'll take us through that replay shortly, but in the meantime now judges owe us 2 scores, the opener of Ado in blue and Lakey Peterson's wave number 3.
I mean, it's hard not to. So ultimately, but as soon as that first score, then the rest of the scores are all compared to that last 7.0 by Lakey. You watch this nice roundhouse turn here. She does get a little stuck as she rebounds off the whitewash. Was able to attack that final section. This is going to be a great backup score to her 7.0. It's going to replace the 1.23. It's going to be more added pressure to Pauline Ado.
To Rosie, I'd love to get your insight on what you think is going on conditions-wise.
Well, it's definitely changed. You know, we saw this morning that lower tide, but then, you know, it's got like 7 foot of change. The tidal change just really makes it so difficult. We had Silvana Lima, one of the girls that's really looking for a great result in this event, go down to Tatiana Western Webb. This rookie is unstoppable at the moment. Her surfing is so mature, and she's just displaying, you know, maturity, and just under pressure she's able to produce these scores, find the waves that she needs. A tricky lineup here today.
She came in and said that this was just a very difficult win. She was so grateful to get it, and Silvana, such a gracious competitor, you know, she really said that this one was up to God for her, and she's not feeling the pressure despite the loss.
Yeah, exactly, and another crucial event. Heat 4, Laura Enever up against Joanne Defay. You know, Laura Enever, you would think that she would really suit these conditions coming from North Narrabeen. We can pull a lot of parallels between these two beaches here at Ginchu and North Narrabeen, but unfortunately, you know, even though she had some beautiful waves, a couple great moments of brilliance, she was just unable to solidify that last turn. And Joanne Defay, beautiful surfing from her.
I asked her about her 8.5, and I asked her what she saw on that wave, and she said she just didn't know. She just did whatever she could. What did you see that you liked there?
It's interesting because she heard that she needed it too, so she wanted to surf it safe, but then she gets the 8.5, so she really went for it. I was impressed with that from her.
And we are seeing some more excellent range scores as we move on through round 2. In Heat 3, we had Bianca Baitendog versus Teresa Bombolo, and she said that it really came down to that right that opened up.
Yeah, definitely. That became part of the playing field when the ladies got to move further down the beach. They recognized that this right was going to start working, and, you know, it was Bianca that really capitalized on that, and she just had, you know, that strength to really maneuver through these waves. Teresa, unfortunately, you know, falling victim to the conditions here today.
And yeah, she talked about the conditions, and I asked her if this was pretty consistent for what it is out here, and she said, no, it's a little bit different. You know, it wasn't quite what she expected, and she had to change her strategy a little bit. I know that was probably a bummer of a loss for her.
They're right back next to each other again. I mean, that set just punished her. You know, the further you outside, the stronger the wave is. And sure enough, you know, Lakey, you can see they're frustrated. She almost got to the outside, and then that big set came. It's now punished her right back into the inside. So they're both sitting next to each other, and it's just, yeah, it is challenging conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. To give you an idea of the scale of what we're dealing with here, it's probably about 2 football fields footprint of lineup right here, right now, and the girls are getting thrashed.
All right.
2.5 minutes
talking
on the
about
clock here.
a soccer football field. We're talking about an American football field. We're talking about a rugby field. Which one are you talking about?
Let's try to get the language as standard as possible.
It's a big, long ways, right? That's it. It's a long, you know, it's a very long ways. There's a right there, but then see that outcropping of rocks. It's a whole nother peak. As we finally got some action here.
Oh, wow. Strategic turnaround. She realizes that the clock is dwindling very, very fast now. So Pauline Ado checks in another quick maneuver. Is it going to meet any requirements? She needs a 5.85 here, Peter. So wave number 2, though, being clocked on by our surfer in blue.
You know what's interesting is that, I mean, we started this round out, and all of a sudden things have changed in this round. So ultimately, you don't want to see what happens. But we conceivably, and I don't know, I'm just going to throw this out there, but like
in blue, it looks like it's going to be Lakey Peterson heading for round 3.
I'll tell you what, even just looking at this shot, though, it is a very, very picturesque scene here. You know, it's beautiful cliffs right down to the water's edge here at Gincho. So again, Portugal has always been one of the more picturesque spots on tour, so we're always good to be here. You know, even though we're having challenging conditions, it ultimately is one beautiful place.
Absolutely. Well, that's all part of the ticket here in Europe.